Millions of dollars worth of Canadian pennies have already been discovered, but collectors believe some are still hiding in everyday change. Before you spend another old or modern Canadian 1-cent coin, watch this. Hit like, subscribe, and let's find out if you're holding a hidden fortune. The 1970 Canadian 1-cent penny is a coin that many people still keep in jars, family boxes, or old collections without realizing it could be more than a simple memory. At first glance, it looks like a small copper-colored coin with a young Queen Elizabeth II on one side and two maple leaves on the other. But a difference in weight, edge, date, or design can turn an ordinary coin into a piece worth examining. The first coin in this video is the 1970 Canadian 1-cent penny. This coin belongs to a classic period of Canadian cents, when the country still used copper pennies in everyday circulation. Although many examples were produced, some coins can stand out because of exceptional condition, genuine minting errors, or unusual features that should not be ignored. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II appears facing right. Around her are the words, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina. These letters are part of the official design and help confirm whether the coin still has sharp details. Look closely at the hair, crown, neck, and lettering around the portrait. Any raised doubling, extra line, or unusual metal feature may deserve attention. On the reverse, there are two maple leaves, one of Canada's most recognizable symbols. Between them is the word Canada, while below are the date 1970 and the denomination 1 cent. The leaf lines, veins, rim, and lettering are important areas to inspect carefully. Most 1970 Canadian pennies are not worth thousands of dollars. A coin that is worn, dark, scratched, bent, old, cleaned, or heavily corroded normally has only modest value. However, a piece with original luster, strong red copper color, sharp details, and an unusually strong strike can attract more collector interest. The value range of $32,450 to $90,500 would only make sense for a truly extraordinary coin, a major certified error, a coin struck on the wrong planchet, a strong double strike, a dramatic off-center strike, or a very rare combination of a genuine error and exceptional preservation. It does not mean that every 1970 Canadian cent reaches those figures. The normal composition of this coin is mainly copper. It should weigh about 3.24 grams, measure close to 19.05 millimeters, and have a plain edge. These specifications matter because a noticeable difference in weight, diameter, thickness, or color may indicate that the coin deserves a closer inspection. The first step is to weigh it using a precise digital scale. A normal 1970 Canadian penny should be close to 3.24 grams. If it weighs much less, much more, looks unusually thick, too small, or has a strange metallic color, do not dismiss it. A significant difference could suggest that it was struck on a blank intended for another denomination. A wrong planchet error occurs when cent dies strike a metal blank made for a different coin. The result may be a coin that is lighter, heavier, smaller, thicker, or a different color. Queen Elizabeth's portrait, the maple leaves, and the lettering may look compressed, incomplete, or too close to the edge. But weight alone does not prove rarity. Wear, dirt, corrosion, and later damage can slightly affect the mass. A coin with real potential usually shows several signs together: abnormal weight, different size, altered edge, unusual color, and a design that appears shifted or incomplete. Do not clean a suspicious coin. Avoid vinegar, lemon juice, toothpaste, detergent, polishing products, metal brushes, or jewelry cleaners. These methods can scratch the copper, remove original color, and greatly reduce numismatic appeal. A coin may look brighter after cleaning, but to a collector it can lose much of its value. Now inspect the date 1970, Canada, 1 cent, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina with a magnifying glass. Look for raised doubling, separated outlines, or letters that seem to have a second image built into the design. A genuine double die variety forms during die preparation before the coin is struck. True doubling should appear clear, raised, and repeatable. It should not look like a shadow, stain, or reflection from light. It should also not be confused with machine doubling. Machine doubling usually looks flat, weak, or like a small shelf beside letters and numbers. It can look interesting, but it normally does not add major value. Queen Elizabeth's portrait can also reveal die cracks. Examine the hair, forehead, crown, neck, and field near the rim. A raised line running through these areas may be a genuine die crack. This happens when the die fractures and metal flows into that opening during striking. That is why a real die crack is raised, while an ordinary scratch is recessed. A cud can be even more visible. It forms when part of the die breaks near the rim. Metal fills the empty space and creates a raised blob that may cover a letter, part of the date, or an area of the portrait. For it to be genuine, it should blend naturally into the design and not resemble glue, corrosion, or crushed metal. On the reverse, inspect the maple leaves, especially the veins, points, and outer edges. Look for raised lines connecting details or crossing the open field of the coin. A die crack may begin at the rim and move toward a leaf. A recessed, rough, or irregular mark is usually later damage. Off-center strikes can also be important. They happen when the blank is not properly aligned between the dies. The design shifts to one side, leaving an unstruck area. The best examples keep the date 1970 and the word Canada visible because that makes the coin easy to identify. A double strike can be even more dramatic. You may see overlapping letters, a second partial image of the portrait, repeated numbers, or doubled maple leaves. A genuine double strike keeps clear raised detail and follows the original geometry of the design. Store any suspicious 1970 Canadian cent in a protective capsule. Take clear photos of the obverse, reverse, and edge, record the exact weight, and compare it with a normal example. A small difference can separate an ordinary penny from a coin that deserves professional examination. Now we move to the next coin, where another ordinary-looking detail may hide an even harder-to-find surprise. A 1973 Canadian penny may look like nothing more than old pocket change, but one unusual detail in the date, weight, or maple leaves could make it worth far more than 1 cent. The second coin in this video is the 1973 Canadian 1 cent penny. This small copper coin was made for everyday circulation, and millions were used in shops, buses, vending machines, and family cash jars across Canada. Today, many of them are dark, scratched, or heavily worn. But a carefully preserved example, or one with a genuine minting error, can be much more interesting than it first appears. On the obverse, you will see Queen Elizabeth II facing right. Around her portrait are the words, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina. This Latin abbreviation refers to her role as queen. When inspecting the front, look closely at the Queen's hair, crown, neckline, and the letters around the rim. These areas can show raised cracks, doubled lettering, or other features that may help separate a normal coin from a possible variety. The reverse carries one of Canada's best-known symbols, 2 maple leaves attached to a single stem. Above the leaves is the word Canada. Below them are the date 1973 and the denomination 1 cent. The veins of the leaves, the sharpness of their points, the rim, and the lettering all matter when you are looking for possible errors. Most 1973 Canadian pennies are common. A coin that is badly worn, cleaned, bent, corroded, drilled, or scratched usually has limited collector value. The real appeal begins when a coin still has strong original red color, clean surfaces, sharp details, and no signs of harsh cleaning. High-grade pieces are harder to find because copper reacts easily to air, moisture, fingerprints, and chemicals over time. The value range of $28,320 to $84,400 would only make sense for a truly exceptional example. That could include a major certified mint error, a wrong planchet strike, a dramatic off-center coin, a strong double strike, or an extremely rare error combined with outstanding preservation. It does not mean every 1973 Canadian penny is worth thousands of dollars. A normal 1973 Canadian cent is primarily copper and should weigh about 3.24 grams. It measures close to 19.05 millimeters across and has a plain edge. These basic specifications are extremely useful. When a coin has a very different weight, unusual thickness, incorrect diameter, or strange color, it should not be ignored. Start by weighing the coin with a precise digital scale. A normal example should be close to 3.24 grams. If it is significantly lighter or heavier, compare it with another 1973 Canadian cent in normal condition. A major weight difference can suggest that the coin may have been struck on a blank intended for a different denomination. A wrong planchet error happens when cent dies strike a metal blank made for another coin. The result may be smaller, heavier, lighter, thicker, or a completely different color from a normal cent. The Queen's portrait and maple leaves may look squeezed, incomplete, or unusually close to the rim because the blank did not have the correct size. However, weight alone is not proof. Dirt, corrosion, wear, and later damage can slightly affect a coin's weight. A truly promising coin should show more than one unusual feature. Look for a combination of abnormal weight, different diameter, unusual edge shape, odd color, and a design that appears compressed or incomplete. Never clean a coin that seems unusual. Do not use vinegar, lemon juice, toothpaste, metal polish, jewelry cleaner, or a wire brush. These methods can scratch the copper and remove the original surface. A cleaned coin may shine brighter, but it often becomes less desirable to collectors because the natural finish has been permanently altered. Next, inspect the date 1973, the word Canada, 1 cent, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina with a magnifying glass. Look for raised doubling, separated outlines, or letters that appear to have an extra image built into the design. A genuine double die variety begins during the preparation of the die, before the coin is struck. True doubling should look raised, clear, and repeatable. It should not look like a shadow or a reflection. It is also important not to confuse it with machine doubling. Machine doubling often looks flat or shelf-like beside letters and numbers. It can appear dramatic under certain light, but it usually does not carry the same value as a genuine doubled die. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II can also reveal die cracks. Look carefully at the hair, crown, forehead, neck, and the open field near the rim. A raised line running through these areas may be a die crack. It forms when a die develops a fracture and metal flows into that opening during the strike. A genuine die crack is raised above the surface, while a normal scratch is cut into the coin. A cut is another possible mint error. It forms when a piece of the die breaks away near the edge. Metal then fills that missing area and creates a raised blob, sometimes covering part of a letter, the rim, or part of the portrait. A real cut should blend naturally into the design rather than looking like corrosion, glue, or damaged metal. On the reverse, study the maple leaves closely. Look for raised lines crossing the leaf veins, connecting the leaves to the rim, or running through the fields around the design. A die crack may begin near the edge and travel toward one of the leaves. A rough mark that is sunken into the coin is usually damage that happened after the coin left the mint. Off-center strikes can also be highly collectible. They happen when the blank is not positioned correctly between the dies. The design shifts to one side, leaving a blank, unstruck area. The most desirable examples usually keep the date 1973 and enough of the word Canada visible for clear identification. A double strike can be even more dramatic. You may see repeated letters, doubled maple leaves, a second partial rim, or an overlapping image of the Queen. A genuine double strike should show clear raised detail and follow the natural layout of the original design. Store any suspicious 1973 Canadian penny in a protective holder. Take clear photographs of both sides and the edge, record its exact weight, and compare it with a normal example. The next coin may look equally ordinary, but its hidden detail could be even harder to find. A 1991 Canadian penny may look like ordinary change, but a strange weight, an unusual rim, or a distorted maple leaf design could turn it into the most important coin in this video. The third and final coin is the 1991 Canadian 1 cent penny. It is easy to overlook because it was made for everyday circulation, and millions of Canadians once used coins like this in stores, buses, parking meters, and cash registers. But a normal-looking penny can become much more interesting when it has an authentic minting error, an unusual planchet, or exceptional original condition. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II appears facing right. Around her portrait are the words, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina. The portrait is surrounded by a clean rim, and the details in the hair, crown, neck, and lettering should be sharp on a well-preserved example. These areas are also important when searching for doubled dies, die cracks, or other striking abnormalities. On the reverse, the familiar Canadian design shows two maple leaves attached to one stem. The word Canada appears above the leaves, while the date 1991 and the denomination 1 cent are positioned below. The veins inside the maple leaves, the pointed leaf tips, the letters, and the rim all provide useful areas for close inspection. Most 1991 Canadian pennies are not rare in ordinary circulated condition. A coin that is heavily worn, dark, scratched, bent, corroded, drilled, cleaned, or damaged after leaving the mint normally has very limited collector value. The real potential begins with a coin that has bright original red color, strong luster, sharp detail, and no evidence of harsh cleaning or alteration. The value range of $22,450 to $74,580 would only make sense for a genuinely extraordinary example. That could include a major certified mint error, a wrong planchet strike, a dramatic off-center strike, a strong double strike, or a rare error combined with exceptional preservation. It does not mean every 1991 Canadian penny is worth thousands of dollars. A normal 1991 Canadian cent is mainly copper and should weigh about 2.5 grams. It measures close to 19.05 millimeters across and has a plain edge. These basic details are essential because weight, diameter, thickness, and color can reveal whether the coin was made on the correct blank or whether something unusual happened during production. Start by weighing the coin with a precise digital scale. A normal example should be close to 2.5 grams. If your penny is noticeably heavier, lighter, thicker, smaller, or a different color from a normal copper cent, do not spend it. Compare it with another 1991 Canadian penny before making assumptions. A wrong planchet error happens when cent dies strike a blank intended for another denomination. The coin may be smaller, heavier, lighter, thicker, or show a different metallic color. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II and the maple leaves may appear squeezed, incomplete, or unusually close to the rim because the blank did not match the normal cent specifications. However, weight alone is not enough to prove rarity. Dirt, corrosion, wear, and damage can slightly change a coin's mass. A truly promising coin usually shows several unusual signs together: abnormal weight, an incorrect diameter, a strange edge, an unusual tone, and a design that looks compressed, incomplete, or shifted. Never clean a suspicious Canadian penny. Do not use vinegar, lemon juice, toothpaste, metal polish, jewelry cleaner, wire brushes, or harsh detergents. Copper surfaces can be permanently damaged by cleaning, and original color is especially important to collectors. A coin may look brighter after cleaning, but it can lose much of its collector appeal. Now examine the date 1991, the word Canada, 1 cent, Elizabeth II, and D.G. Regina with a magnifying glass. Look for raised doubling, separated outlines, or letters that appear to have an extra image built into the design. A genuine double die variety forms during die preparation before the coin is struck. True doubling should look raised, clear, and repeatable. It should not look like a shadow, a stain, or a reflection from light. It is also important not to confuse real doubling with machine doubling. Machine doubling often looks flat, weak, or shelf-like beside letters and numbers. It may look dramatic under magnification, but it usually does not carry major value. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II can also reveal die cracks. Check the hair, crown, forehead, neck, and the open field near the rim. A raised line running through these areas may be a genuine die crack. This occurs when the die develops a fracture and metal flows into that opening during the strike. A real die crack is raised, while a normal scratch is cut into the surface. A cut is another error worth watching for. It forms when part of a die breaks away near the rim. Metal then fills the missing section and creates a raised blob that may cover part of a letter, the rim, or the Queen's portrait. A genuine cut should blend naturally into the design, not look like corrosion, glue, or crushed metal. On the reverse, inspect the maple leaves closely. Look for raised lines crossing the leaf veins, connecting the leaves to the rim, or running through the open fields. A die crack may begin at the rim and move toward one of the leaves. A rough mark that is sunken into the coin is usually later damage, not a mint-made error. Off-center strikes can be especially collectible. They happen when the blank is not positioned correctly between the dies. The design shifts to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and unstruck. The strongest examples usually keep the date 1991 and enough of the word Canada visible for accurate identification. A double strike can be even more dramatic. You may see repeated letters, a second partial rim, doubled maple leaves, or an overlapping image of Queen Elizabeth II. A genuine double strike should show clear raised details and follow the natural layout of the original design rather than looking like random damage. Store any suspicious 1991 Canadian penny in a protective holder. Photograph both sides and the edge, record its exact weight, and compare it with a normal example. Do not clean or alter it. A tiny difference in the maple leaves, the date, the rim, or the weight could separate an ordinary penny from a coin worth professional examination. And that brings this video to an end. Before spending a 1991 Canadian penny, inspect its weight, rim, maple leaves, and lettering carefully. Sometimes the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise.